Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. We're diving into a critical and complex topic: understanding modern terrorism. This presentation will explore the psychological and socio-political dimensions of terrorism, helping us better grasp the definitions, motivations, behaviors, and the policies designed to address terrorism on a global scale. Together, we'll unpack these important aspects to deepen our understanding and spark meaningful conversations. Let's get started. Terrorism, at its core, is the use of violence or threats intended to create fear, often to achieve political or social goals. It's not just random violence. There's a clear purpose behind these actions. Today, terrorism presents a major global challenge because it stems from a variety of complex motivations and has far-reaching consequences that affect many aspects of society. To tackle this issue effectively, it's essential to understand the psychology behind terrorism, why individuals choose this path, and how communities and governments can respond in ways that reduce the risk and impact of these acts. This insight helps us develop better strategies to prevent terrorism and protect society. When we talk about terrorism, it's important to understand how it's defined from different perspectives. Federally, terrorism is described as the use of unlawful force or violence aimed at intimidating or coercing civilians, governments, or entire societies to achieve political or social goals. This definition highlights the intent behind the acts and the targets involved. On the other hand, scholars tend to take a more nuanced approach. They look beyond just the violence itself and consider factors like the legitimacy of the cause, the scale of the attack, and the broader ideological context. This helps us see how definitions can vary and why terrorism isn't always a straightforward label. Understanding these perspectives is crucial for analyzing how terrorism is identified and addressed. When we talk about terrorism, it's important to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. First, we have the motives behind terrorism, which can vary widely. Some groups are driven by political goals, others by religious beliefs, and still others by ideological reasons. These motives shape their objectives and actions. Next, the tactics used by terrorists are diverse and evolving. Common methods include bombing, cyber attacks, and assassinations, each chosen to create fear and achieve their aims. Lastly, the targets of terrorism are typically civilians, governments, or critical infrastructure. By striking these targets, terrorists aim to disrupt society and gain maximum attention for their cause. Understanding these categories helps us better grasp the complexity of terrorism. When we look at the psychological motivations behind terrorism, several key factors come into play. First, a strong sense of identity and belonging is crucial. Many individuals are driven by the need to feel part of a group, to have a clear place where they belong. Next, ideological commitment plays a major role. People often engage in terrorism because they truly believe in a cause or ideology. Alongside this, perceptions of injustice or victimization are powerful motivators. If someone feels wronged or marginalized, that sense of unfairness can push them toward violence. Desires for revenge also weigh heavily. The urge to retaliate can be a potent driver. Finally, there's a need to achieve significance or empowerment. For some, committing these acts is a way to gain a sense of importance or control they otherwise lack. All of these psychological elements intertwine to explain why individuals might turn to terrorism. Radicalization typically happens in distinct stages, starting with pre-radicalization. At this point, individuals often feel a sense of dissatisfaction or disconnection from their current situation or society. Following this, they enter the self-identification phase, where they start exploring extremist ideas as a way to make sense of their frustrations. Next comes indoctrination, during which their beliefs grow stronger and they form tighter social bonds with like-minded individuals. Finally, the process reaches jihadization, where the person fully commits to extremist actions. Understanding these stages helps us see how ordinary people can gradually become involved in radical movements over time. When we look at the behavioral patterns in terrorists, one key aspect is their cognitive openness to extremist ideologies. This means they are mentally receptive to radical ideas, which can shape their worldview and make them more susceptible to extremist beliefs. Another important factor is their strong conformity to group norms. This adherence reinforces a sense of belonging and unity within the group, which is crucial for maintaining cohesion and collective identity. Finally, terrorists often engage in the dehumanization of outgroups. By seeing others as less than human, they reduce natural moral restraints, making it easier to justify violence as necessary or acceptable within their group's ideology. These patterns together help us understand the psychological mechanisms behind terrorist behavior. When we look at the role of trauma in terrorism, personal trauma often makes individuals more susceptible to recruitment. Experiencing significant trauma can leave people searching for meaning or belonging, which terrorist groups can exploit. This ties directly into social identity theory, which helps us understand how being part of a group can foster strong loyalty. People begin to see themselves primarily through their group membership, which can sometimes justify extremist behavior when the group feels threatened or marginalized. Terrorist organizations skillfully use this dynamic by amplifying personal trauma and emphasizing social identity. They create a powerful us versus a mindset, solidifying commitment and driving individuals toward radical actions. This combination of trauma and social identity becomes a critical factor in sustaining extremist movements. Terrorism has a profound psychological impact on communities. First, it creates widespread fear, making people feel unsafe in their everyday lives. This fear can be pervasive, affecting not just those directly targeted but entire populations. Additionally, individuals within these communities often experience psychological trauma, which can manifest as anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress. This trauma doesn't just affect personal well-being. It can strain relationships and community bonds. Speaking of community bonds, terrorism poses significant challenges to community cohesion, often leading to mistrust and division among neighbors. Lastly, all these psychological effects make recovery and resilience more difficult. Healing a community after an attack is not just about rebuilding physical structures, but also about addressing these deep emotional wounds to restore a sense of safety and unity. Psychological insights play a crucial role in forming policies that aim to prevent and counter terrorism. By understanding how people think and behave, policymakers can develop more effective strategies. One key approach is community engagement, which helps reduce radicalization by building trust and resilience within communities. Another important element is mental health interventions, which focus on addressing trauma that can make individuals more vulnerable to extremist influences. Finally, communication campaigns are designed to challenge and counteract extremist narratives by directly addressing the underlying psychological factors. Together, these methods create a more comprehensive and effective way to combat terrorism. Psychology is absolutely essential when it comes to understanding terrorism today. By studying the motivations and behaviors behind these acts, we gain valuable insights into why individuals turn to such extreme measures. This knowledge helps us craft better prevention strategies and intervention programs. Moving forward, deepening psychological research and fully integrating these perspectives into counterterrorism efforts will strengthen our ability to address and reduce these complex and ever-changing threats worldwide.